Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to unpack ideas that, they seem simple on the surface, but when you dig in, wow, layers of complexity.
Definitely.
And today, we're diving into something huge, something everyone chases, but honestly, few really seem to grasp it. Happiness.
Ah, yes, happiness. It's so elusive, isn't it? Often kind of buried under what we think it should be.
Exactly. Expectations, misconceptions.
And to help navigate this, we've pulled together some really fascinating sources. We're looking at ancient philosophy, Plato, Aristotle, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, real heavy hitters.
Right, the classics.
But we're also weaving in modern research, insights from thinkers like Arthur Brooks, who writes a lot about this now.
Okay, so old wisdom meets new science.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the mission here is to pull out the really actionable stuff, the key insights, maybe even some surprising facts to give you a shortcut to understanding human flourishing.
Perfect. So this deep dive, it's really designed to help you, our listener, cut through all the noise, sift through the info, get past the myths, and figure out what actually matters for a good life. And hopefully keep you hooked with some cool stuff along the way.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this first bit. We often chase happiness through, well, external things, right? Achievements.
Yeah, that's the default, isn't it?
Like the economist Joseph Schumpeter. He pointed out that entrepreneurs chase fortunes partly as an index of success, like a scorecard.
Right, a symptom of victory.
And honestly, I think lots of us do that in our own ways, picking jobs, maybe even friends, based on what it says about us.
Absolutely, it's about the image, the status.
But what if?
Yeah.
What if that's not really the path? What if that's leading us astray?
Well, that's exactly what people like Arthur Brooks argue. He basically says, look, accomplishment, ambition, they're just not the main drivers of happiness.
Really, not at all.
Not primarily, no. He points out how many people spend their whole lives checking boxes, getting the degree, the promotion, the house.
Climbing the ladder.
Exactly. And they get there and they're still fundamentally unhappy. The external stuff just doesn't equal internal peace.
I can definitely see that. And, this isn't exactly a new idea, is it? Plato was talking about this ages ago.
Oh, absolutely. Way back in Philebus, Plato really digs into the difference between just like pleasure and what he called the good.
Okay, pleasure versus the good. What's the distinction?
Well, he questioned if pleasure is really an essence, something real in itself, or just a generation.
A generation. What did he mean by that?
Something fleeting, something produced, often just when pain stops. He called it an alternation of destruction.
Wow. Alternation of destruction. That's vivid.
It is, isn't it? Like the relief when a headache stops, that's a pleasure, but it's born from pain ending. It's not a pure good in itself.
So it depends on the negative thing disappearing first.
Right. Though he did mention pure pleasures like from beauty or learning things that aren't mixed with pain, but he admitted those are rare, maybe for a very few.
Okay, so that really changes how you'd think about pursuing happiness. And Aristotle, he followed up on this, right? In the
It certainly did. Aristotle just flat out dismissed the common ideas of happiness. Physical pleasure, power, honor, wealth. He said, nope, that's not it.
So what was it for him?
For Aristotle, happiness isn't a passive state you just arrive at. It's an activity. An energizing, he called it.
An activity, like something you have to keep doing.
Precisely. It's unique to being human, and it needs both practical wisdom, making good choices, and moral virtue, being a good person. It's something you actively cultivate.
So happiness is like a muscle you have to keep working out, not a trophy you win.
That's a great way to put it. It completely shifts it from a destination to a daily practice. And interestingly, he thought facing hardship was crucial.
How so?
He said, to be always prosperous without a twinge of mental distress is to remain ignorant of one half of nature. Basically, suffering teaches you things you can't learn otherwise.
Wow. Okay, so avoiding pain isn't the goal either. That's quite a perspective shift.
It really is.
And speaking of that inner state, that way of being,
Yeah.
Seneca had some powerful ideas about achieving peace of mind, didn't he?
Oh, Seneca's fantastic on this. He called that inner calm euthymia.
Euthymia.
Yeah, he described it as undisturbed. Like this profound, steady, almost godlike state of inner peace. Unshakable.
Unshakable by what's happening outside.
Exactly. He talks about having a mind which despises the accidents of fortune and takes pleasure in virtue. finding real pleasure in despising pleasures.
Okay, that sounds a bit contradictory again. Despising pleasures to find pleasure.
It does, but what he means is finding joy in your own virtue, your inner strength, rather than chasing fleeting external pleasures or being crushed by bad luck. Freedom comes from within.
Right. Detachment from the external roller coaster. So if happiness isn't really about getting stuff from the outside, it must be about building something on the inside.
That seems to be the core message, yes.
But what trips us up? What are the internal roadblocks our sources warn us about? Let's start with a big one. Anger.
Anger. Seneca had a lot to say about anger. He called it a short madness.
A short madness. Strong words.
Very. And he described it so vividly, the physical signs, blazing eyes, red face, quivering lips, clenched teeth, bristling hair, that harsh breathing.
Yeah, you can picture it.
He said it's devoid of self-control, doesn't care about rules or decorum, totally careless of itself provided it hurts another. It'll rush onto a sword, basically.
Self-destructive, then.
Absolutely. And unlike other vices, he notes anger is conspicuous. You can't really hide it. He even asks, why bite your own lips when you want to hit someone? It's irrational.
So the takeaway isn't just don't get angry, it's recognize how irrational and harmful it is.
Exactly. And choose reason instead. Use reason to guide your response, especially when dealing with wrongs. Look to the future solution, not just dwelling on the past hurt.
But wait, didn't Aristotle have a slightly different take? Something about meekness?
He did, yeah. Aristotle offered a more nuanced view. He actually praised the person who is angry at what and with whom he ought, and further, in right manner and time, and for proper length of time.
So for Aristotle, anger isn't always bad. It can be appropriate.
It seems so. The key for him was balance and appropriateness. Using anger constructively when justified, not letting it run wild like Seneca's madness.
Okay, so how do we reconcile those? Seneca says it's madness. Aristotle says there's a right time and place.
Well, I think the synthesis is maybe recognize the destructive potential Seneca warns about. Learn to control that raw, consuming fire with reason.
Right.
But also cultivate the wisdom. Aristotle points to knowing when a measured, controlled anger is the right response to injustice, but still guided by reason, not just pure emotion.
Okay, that makes sense. Control the fire, but maybe use the heat constructively sometimes.
Something like that, yeah.
All right, moving from anger. What about fear and anxiety? Huge issues for so many people today. What do our sources say?
It's interesting. One source touches on how fear can actually be passed down through generations, like learned fear.
Wow, really? Learn from family or society?
Yeah, the implication is our environment teaches us what to fear. But then there's this really fascinating idea from a piece on workaholism.
Okay.
It mentions a study suggesting reverse causation.
Reverse causation.
What's that? The idea that maybe people aren't becoming anxious because they're workaholics, but they might be using workaholism to treat their pre-existing depression and anxiety.
Whoa. So work becomes a kind of self-medication.
Potentially, yes. A way to cope or maybe distract from deeper issues.
That's unsettling. It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are we pushing harder at work to avoid facing something else?
It certainly prompts that question. The insight there is about self-awareness. We need to ask why we're driven. Is it passion or is it escape? And maybe address the root cause, not just mask it with productivity.
Right. Don't just treat the symptom.
Exactly. And, Socrates had a really powerful take on fear. In Gorgias, he says something like, "No man who is not an utter fool and coward is afraid of death itself, but he is afraid of doing wrong."
Afraid doing wrong, not of dying.
Yeah. It completely shifts the focus. The real fear shouldn't be external events, but compromising your own integrity, your own moral compass.
That's profound. It puts the power back in your hands in a way. What you control is your actions.
Precisely.
And speaking of control and external things, what about what other people think? External validation. So many of us get caught up in that.
Oh, massively. And the sources are pretty clear on this. There's a column titled, "No One Cares," which sounds harsh, but it highlights a key Stoic idea.
Which is?
It quotes the Tao Te Ching, actually. Care about others' approval and you will be their prisoner.
Their prisoner. Strong image.
Isn't it? And Marcus Aurelius says something similar. No one is despised by others unless he be previously despised by himself.
So if you don't value yourself, why would others? It starts from within.
Exactly. True self-worth has to be internal. It can't depend on likes or promotions or what other people say. The insight is to cultivate that inner self-acceptance first. Break free from needing that external stamp of approval.
That relates to that idea of self-objectification too, right? seeing yourself through others' eyes all the time.
Yes, precisely. Seeing yourself as an object to be evaluated rather than a subject with inherent worth, we need to shift away from that.
It's a constant battle in today's world, I think.
Yeah.
Which brings me to our devices. The phones in our pockets, are they part of this problem, hindering our peace?
Arthur Brooks tackles this head-on in a piece about phone addiction.
I bet. What's his take?
Well, he quotes a psychiatrist, Anna Lemke, who calls the smartphone the hypodermic needle for a wired generation.
Wow, that's blunt, a hypodermic needle.
Yeah, suggests a pretty direct addictive dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
So the advice is clear. We need to build a happier relationship with these devices. Use them mindfully.
Not let them use us.
Exactly. It's about conscious engagement, setting boundaries, being deliberate, not just endless scrolling and reacting.
Okay, so we've talked internal states, anger, fear, validation, devices. What about our connections with others? Relationships seem crucial.
Absolutely crucial. So many sources, ancient and modern, point to this. For instance, why it's so lonely at the top.
Right, loneliness for leaders.
Yeah, it highlights how vital work friendships are. Get this. Data shows over 90% of employees have work friends, and 70% say friendship is the most important thing for a happy work life.
70%, that's huge. More important than salary or title for happiness at work.
Apparently so for many people, and having a best friend at work nearly doubles the likelihood you'll enjoy your workday.
Incredible. But then the paradox is that leaders often feel isolated.
Exactly. The very people who might need connection most can find it hardest to build those peer friendships at work. It really underscores how fundamental connection is, regardless of status.
But thinking about friendships more broadly. In our world today, people move around so much. Are our friendships becoming shallower, more disposable?
That's definitely a concern raised. One article, Find the Place You Love, Then Move There, actually uses that phrase, disposable friendships in a mobile world.
Disposable friendships. That sounds pretty bleak.
It does. It acknowledges that challenge of maintaining deep ties when life is transient. But then you look back at someone like Aristotle.
What did he say about friendship?
He was adamant. He said, no one would choose to live without friends, though he should have all the other good things in the world. Friends were non-negotiable for a good life.
Even with all the riches or power?
Even then, but he was careful to distinguish types of friendship.
Okay, not all friendships are equal in his view.
Not at all. He saw friendships based just on usefulness or just on shared pleasure as lower forms, often temporary.
So friends you use or friends you just have fun with?
Right. The highest form, for Aristotle, was friendship between good people. People who love each other for their character, their virtue. They wish each other well genuinely because they admire each other's goodness.
That's a much deeper connection, based on shared values.
Exactly. And you see this reflected historically, too. Like reading Pliny's letters from ancient Rome, the deep affection for friends and family shines through. Strong bonds were clearly prized. So yeah, mobility's a challenge, but the quality of connection is still what matters most.
Okay, quality over quantity and virtue-based friendships being the ideal. But what happens when those connections get strained? Disagreements, especially with family or close friends who have really different values, that can cause so much pain.
It really can. And there's a fascinating, maybe counterintuitive piece of advice from an article on parent-child relationships.
Oh yeah, what's the secret?
It suggests low expectations.
More expectations. That sounds pessimistic.
Well, maybe pragmatic is a better word. It observes that aging parents are often more likely to eventually accept lifestyle choices they disagree with than they are to accept their kids directly telling them their core values are wrong. That feels like a deeper attack.
Ah, I see. So don't attack the values. Maybe just live differently and hope for acceptance over time.
Kind of. The core insight is that peace often comes when we stop insisting on agreement. If you don't demand that the other person see the world exactly as you do, you remove a major reason to fight.
Let go of the need to be right or to make them agree. Just coexist.
Exactly. It allows for connection without necessarily total alignment. A path to peace, perhaps.
That's actually very practical advice for navigating those tricky relationships.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. This has been such a rich exploration. Let's try and distill this down now. Thinking about practical steps you can take, habits you can build. Gratitude comes up a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. Arthur Brooks lists it as one of his top 3 rules for happiness.
And the ancients.
Seneca saw gratitude as beautiful in itself, not done for profit. A grateful mind is attracted only by a sense of the beauty of its purpose.
So being grateful because it's the right way to be, not because you'll get something back?
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius had a slightly different angle. He encouraged gratitude for what you have had, even if it's gone now.
Instead of grieving the loss, appreciate having had it.
Right. It reframes laws and focuses on past blessings, which can be incredibly grounding.
That's a powerful shift. What about self-reflection? Humility, how do they fit in?
Seneca really pushed for self-awareness. He basically said, who among us hasn't broken any rules? Acknowledge your own flaws.
So you can be fairer to others.
Precisely. When we think of this, let us deal more justly with sinners, he advised. Recognize your own imperfections, and you become more empathetic, less judgmental, calmer, really.
And Socrates, with his famous, I know that I know nothing.
A perfect example of that intellectual humility. He claimed his wisdom was just knowing his own limits, which ironically made him wiser than those who thought they knew everything. It's about being open, teachable, not arrogantly certain.
Recognizing our fallibility. That seems key. Now, something unavoidable, misfortune, bad things happen. How can these sources help us view hardship differently?
Seneca has this incredibly powerful line, misfortune is virtue's opportunity.
Opportunity, not disaster.
Opportunity. He suggested that the toughest challenges are given to the strongest people, like the hardest missions go to the best soldiers. It's not punishment, it's training.
Training. Adversity as exercise.
Exactly. It hardens reviews and exercises them. He used a great analogy. No tree which the wind does not often blow against is firm and strong. Hardship builds resilience.
The challenges make you stronger, like wind strengthens a tree.
That's the idea. And Marcus Aurelius echoed this. He saw misfortune as a test that strengthens the mind, allowing it to ultimately despise the power of misfortunes. You become bigger than your problems by facing them.
Embrace the struggle. Don't just endure it.
Well,
That's transformative.
It really reframes suffering, doesn't it?
Definitely. Okay, last area, living deliberately, being present, not getting lost in the past or future. How do we cultivate that?
Well, Seneca had some sharp words for people lost in busyness. He lamented that no man knows less about living than a businessman.
Ouch. Why?
Because, he said, learning how to live and how to die takes your whole life. And so many successful people, they admit, I'm not allowed to live my own life. They're constantly pulled away by demands.
Too busy making a living to actually live.
Exactly. The wise person, in contrast, devotes every possible part of their time to themselves. Not selfishly, but for reflection, for growth, for presence.
Carving out that inner space.
Yes. And Marcus Aurelius urged, this time that is now present, bestow thou upon thyself, and constantly reminded himself to look within. Within is the fountain of all good.
Find contentment inside, not constantly seeking it outside.
That's the essence of it. Be present. Engage with now. Even simple physical things like the sources mentioning a walking pilgrimage or avoiding being too sedentary. Connect back to being present in your body and your life right now.
Right. Active engagement with the present. Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all up, this deep dive really shows happiness isn't some static thing you find like buried treasure.
No, definitely not.
It's an active, ongoing process, isn't it? Rooted in how we manage our inner world, build relationships, face challenges.
Absolutely. It's this amazing blend of ancient wisdom and modern findings, all pointing inwards to virtue, connection, mindfulness.
Cultivating that inner resilience, that inner peace, seems to be the common thread.
I think so. The sources consistently suggest that by working on things like humility, gratitude, acceptance, and by actively nurturing our connections and understanding our own minds, we build a happiness that's, well, more robust, less fragile, less dependent on everything going perfectly outside.
A happiness that can weather the storms.
Yeah, a more meaningful, resilient kind of flourishing.
Okay, so for everyone listening, given everything we've uncovered today, mastering anger, maybe you're reframing misfortune, valuing real connection, and cultivating that inner peace, what's the one single concept from this deep dive that resonates most with you?
Good question.
What's the one thing you'll commit to exploring a bit more in your own life this week? How can you start turning some of this knowledge into real action for your own well-being? Something to think about.